Looking forward to it, and I hope that you guys are too. So if you have missed the first 2 episodes, then you can go back and watch the replays and see what we've done over the last couple of weeks. So welcome, 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 and thank you for joining me live. And of course, my name is Ashley Hay. I'm a mixed media artist and I love playing around with Powertex art supplies. So he has been made on an altered bottle, so on a wine bottle. We have filled it with sand. Now, this is a question that I have been asked by a number of people, is when I do the bottle art sculptures, do I actually put sand or something in the bottle to weigh it down? Yes, I do. So I approximately 3/4 fill the bottle with some sand, and that just gives it a little bit more weight so that he doesn't topple over. But of course, if you are using the bottle for something, then you wouldn't put sand in it. So you would just need to make sure that when you've sculpted it, that it is nicely balanced and it's not going to topple. Alrighty, so if you do have any questions as we go, then please ask your questions. That's what I'm here for, is to inspire you guys to create with Powertex and have some arty fun this weekend. And I asked last week what people thought I should call the quirky bird, and I had someone say George, and George has kind of stuck. So George Longneck. And then someone else suggested Gonzo, and I do absolutely love Gonzo. So maybe he's George Gonzo Longneck. Or maybe just George Longneck. But he's definitely George because I keep calling him George when I pick him up now. So every time I look at him, I actually smile. So it's nice when you create some art that makes you smile and is a little bit of fun. So, of course, last week we did the stone art on his face, and so we actually looked at mixing the stone art with different coloured Powertex to make different coloured clays, and that's what we've used here. So we've used the red Powertex to make red air-dried clay, the yellow Powertex to make yellow air-dried clay, and the blue Powertex to make blue air-dried clay. Then we had a play around with that. And of course, I've had a little bit more of a play and finished his face off through the week. And today I thought we would look at doing a little bit of softness with some fabric. So I'll show you something in just a minute, which is where I'm sort of heading with it. And hey, Donna, lovely to see you. And of course, then I will need to colour up the 3D Flex either next week, I can show you that, or I can crack on to something new and just finish it myself. So let me know if you'd like to see me colouring it up, or if you would prefer me to start on something else next week. I've got another idea for some different bottled fun, so stay tuned for that. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this little guy over here. And so he actually, I'll just move George out of the way. And so this is actually a quirky bird that is actually done by a friend of mine, Honor Lovis, beautiful artist. She does really gorgeous paintings, and she has done a series of quirky birds, and she does the most amazing bird houses as well. So huge shout out to Honor Lovis. She's down in Margaret River, beautiful Margaret River in WA. Lucky her, beautiful wine region and lots of arty farties down that way. So she's absolutely in her element there. Hey Robin, lovely to see you, and yes, you are on time today, so welcome. All right, so what I wanted to show you is essentially the body on this quirky bird has been done with easy 3D Flex to get the texture and to get the lovely crackle. His face has been done in the stone art like I showed you last week, and it's just, isn't it just got the most amazing character? So it is just absolutely gorgeous. Now, if we take a look at the feathers, see how they've drooped a little bit? So that is the thing. If you do decide to use something like feathers in your work, then this is what is going to happen over time, and you might need to refresh them. Whereas if you come up with a different solution, like I came up with for George with his wiry, crazy hair, that of course is going to last forever. And you could do different coloured wires, you could do feathers with masking tape and wire. But they do give this one a really gorgeous softness, I'm sure you'd agree. And it's just been a bit humid and all his feathers have drooped. All right, so Robin's just saying she'd love to see me colouring him up and finishing him off next week. So we've got one vote in. Thanks, Robin. And if the rest of you guys can let me know what you'd like. Do I finish him and colour him next week, or do I start something new? Okay, if we have a look here, see how that it is actually done with fabric. So this is just done with t-shirt material and Powertex. And of course, the t-shirt material is going to harden when you use the Powertex on it. So all that she's done on this one is she's used one piece and she's gathered it up. She's dipped the fabric into the Powertex, gathered it up and rumpled it to make it look really beautiful and soft like some wings. Once it's dried, she's then painted it up and given it some gorgeous little spots. So it is so beautiful and the texture is really, really lovely. I'll just hold that up a bit closer so you can see. So see how the texture just flows. You've got really nice edges on everything, and the attention to detail is really worth spending time on when you're doing sculpture and turning them around, looking at them from different directions, looking at them from underneath, from above, from all different angles, because of course when you are doing a sculptural form, it's really, really important to have a look from the different directions to make sure that you have really given attention to those details and made it look as nice as you can from every different angle. So it's spending that little bit of extra time just on those touches that will make all the difference to your artwork. So Robin's just saying that she loves the wings. Yes, I do too. The fabric is just a beautiful solution. And of course, it works really well because you've got the contrasting textures as well. So you've got the really crackled texture on the body, then the softness on the wings, the softness of the feathers, and then the more modelled clay for the face. So, quirky birds, yes, a lot of fun. So George here, he is making me smile and laugh every time I look at him. Have you guys started one? I highly recommend it. Get cracking on a quirky bird funky bottle and I guarantee it will give you a lot of joy. You will smile and laugh all the way. Mariana, welcome. Lovely to see you. Okay, so you will notice as well that I have actually done a number of things on him. So not only have I finished the face off on George, I have also created a bit more form. So if you remember last week, it only had the single wings, and what I've done through the week is I've actually created some more shapes with alfoil and masking tape. So now he's got some tail feathers. I might even put another one on here so that it's got a little bit more height on that. This is the wonderful thing about creating with Powertex is that you don't have to do everything. You can actually change your mind, adapt and adopt your sculpture as you go because you're not locked into the form that you created at the beginning. So you can actually create some more sculptural form as you go, make it how you want to, and then just finish those elements off. So I thought it might be quite nice to actually have him, because he's got this lovely colourful face, I thought it might be quite nice then to maybe echo those colours down around on some of the tail feathers. So you imagine a little bit of stone art on these tail feathers as well. It's just going to give a little bit of balance. So I might do a little bit of a mix of fabric and some stone art on those. But what I'll show you today, oh, excuse me, is just how to get that beautiful fabric look for on here. So of course what we need is we need some Powertex, and I highly recommend doing your fabric with a dark colour, because then once it's dry you can actually embellish it and it comes up beautifully when you lay the colour on it. So you get the dark colour poking through from underneath the textures, and it just looks really, really professionally finished and really beautiful. So that's tip number one. So what you need, of course, is you need some t-shirt material. So I've got some different types here. So I could do it with strips of t-shirt, or I could actually do it with whole pieces of t-shirt material. So that is totally up to you. As I said on Honna's bird, she has used a piece and cut it so it's bigger, but it's relatively shaped to the form. I love working with triangles. So for me, I would be cutting it into a triangular shape. So let's do that right now, and I'll show you how we can go about that. So didn't think to pre-cut my triangles. Okay. So see how that's bigger? It's probably not big enough. So what I want is to be able to gather and do some really nice textural effects. But I can use that one, and then I can use another one on the same wing. So if I've got another one, then I can use the other one underneath that first one that I do. So that's looking good. Now, if I wanted to, like I say, I could cut a much larger piece of fabric and actually gather it more like that, so that I'm using the whole piece for the whole wing. So we'll do one of those as well. I want to keep it nice and fat, but I want to bring it down to a little bit of a point, because as I say, I find those points of the triangle easy to resolve. So I've just made it a little bit pointy there. Still got plenty of t-shirt material here that I can play with, and I might cut it off about there. I'll hold it up for you in just a minute. There we go. So we've got a nice big piece this time, and you can see that that is much bigger. Well, not much bigger, but it's bigger than the wing shape. And then that gives me plenty to play with in terms of gathering. And then if I did need another element, then I can actually pop another one over the top and join that in. And of course, the wonderful thing with the Powertex is that it is going to keep the texture of the fabric, which is just gorgeous. So when people first start playing with Powertex, they want to squash it all down and make sure that it's stuck on. The really key thing with the Powertex is to trust that it is going to do its job really, really well. It is going to stick and it is going to actually harden too. Might just have a quick sip of water. Excuse me, don't normally get froggy. I would love to make a frog. So I've been thinking about making a frog for probably a couple of months now. And I saw Kirsty's frog in the Netherlands. Hey Kirsty, I know you'll be watching. And her frog was just gorgeous, and it it made me go, oh, I've got to do a frog. So, yeah, looking forward to that. Hey, Christine, lovely to see you. And Christine's just saying that she loves George and she hasn't played for a while. She's in Perth and she can't wait to get home to play with all her Powertex. So I'll bet you've had a lovely time up north. Christine's been up in Broome. So lucky her. I'm sure it's been absolutely beautiful up there. Maybe a little bit muggy and hot, but all right, let's get some Powertex on these and get them onto our bird. And but you get the idea. So I've cut the fabric into some triangles and I can then dip it in the Powertex and I can just gather it. Now, what is really, really, really handy to use is a kebab stick. And I notice I haven't actually got one here, but that's okay. I can make do with some of the things that I've got. So I've got a palette knife and I've got a sculpting tool, so I can use both of those. But a kebab stick is really, really gold for really manipulating your fabric, because you can use the point of it to just push it down where you need it to just adhere, instead of using your big chunky finger to push it down. So the other thing that you can do, and I'm sure you guys all have lots and lots of offcuts, because I cut quite a few strips and I cut quite a few different shapes of fabric, and so I've got always got things like this. How awesome would it be to just dip some of those in Powertex and actually use those? So you can get the idea of that, and you could actually almost draw with it to create the form. So you could do little spirals, you could do ruffles, you could do all sorts of things with that. And of course, you can also drape. So you don't have to, keep it onto the form. With these wings, I want to keep it relatively to that form. I'm not really wanting it to drape off, but maybe on the tail, that would be somewhere that I could maybe use something more like that. So it's again got a different type of texture. So that will just be a decision that I make along the way, but I just want to show you how to dip the fabric and really get those wings put together, and then I'll finish him off so he's ready to paint next week. Hey, thank you. I don't know who you are. You're saying this is looking amazing. So yes, we've decided he is George, and I can't go to Gonzo now because he's just become George to me. So he is definitely a George. So George Longneck, welcome to the world. So, okay, so I've got my plastic bowl. I've got some black Powertex because that's the base of the bird that I've used. So I could use bronze Powertex. It would give a more earthy base. The black will give it a sharper, more contemporary look. All right, so we'll put a bit of that out. So, of course, before I've used this morning, I have already given it a good stir, and then I've given it a shake as well. For those of you who don't know, the Powertex Ultimate Medium actually comes in 11 different colours. So it comes in transparent, and then there's terracotta, bluish grey, bronze, black, green, blue, red, yellow and white and ivory. So you've got lots and lots and lots of different colours in the range, and they all intermix, and they're water-based, easy water wash up, so absolutely brilliant to use. All right, so I've got my fabric. Where's that big bit that I wanted to do as well? Mixed all, since I've picked them up, I've mixed all my bits up. Oh, where are they? There's one. That's not one of them. I think that might be the big bit. Interesting. It's gone walkabout. So I've got one triangle-y bit there, and I've got the big triangle-y bit. Just have to cut another triangle-y bit. Don't you love it when things disappear on your art table? I'm sure you guys have all experienced the same thing. So frustrating sometimes. It's probably caught up in all of this that I lifted up before. Yes, there it is. Look, we've got it. Yay. So there it is. It was caught up in all of that I decided to lift. All right. Are we having fun yet? Absolutely. Quirky bird fun. So what are you guys all making? So have you started an altered bottle? I've seen some amazing ones coming onto the hub in the last week. So that's been really, really awesome. So remember that if you haven't joined the Powertex Australia Creative Hub yet, make sure you do so. And at the moment, we're just focusing on some altered bottle fun, and you can make whatever you want. And someone used a jar because they didn't have a bottle. Of course, you can use old vases, you can use wine bottles, you can use anything. So, but we are focusing on recycled bottle art at the moment. Yes, so Maz is just saying, are we able to turn off the subtitles? So Maz, I think that's actually a Facebook setting, so you should be able to turn that off on your Facebook settings. I will check and make sure that it's not on my end so that you can see the banners coming up and you can see the screen when we remove those banners. So thanks for the feedback. Robin's just saying she hates it when things disappear on her art table as well. So you're relating to me, Robin. Now, you notice what I'm doing here. I'm not just going and super saturating the fabric. So I am actually dipping it in there, and then I actually spread that Powertex. So if anything, this piece is super wet and shiny, and it actually has a lot of Powertex on it. So we want to get into all of these bits that actually... I don't know if you can see that, but there's some patchy bits there that actually aren't covered. And so we want to get those and make sure that the fabric is covered all over. And look how easy it is. We can just mush and crush. So yay. All right, then I like to, once I've done that and I've massaged the Powertex through, I like to actually just pull the fabric apart and see how there's a little bit there. I can just get my fingers and touch that up. So that one is ready to go. So I'll put that one aside, and then we'll, oh, that's the big one. Oops. Don't touch fabric with your fingers and then not coat it fully. So you didn't notice me do that, right? So I just want to do one wing first, then I'll do the wing with the bigger piece. So the reason I say that is because what happens is that Powertex that I've just put on that fabric with my dirty fingers, naughty me, is it's going to dry, and that little bit would go more crusty and it would just not go very nice. So yeah, make sure that you've got any clean t-shirt material or fabrics and fibres away from where you're working so that you're not going to get any splashes onto it. And you can see how I'm just checking that t-shirt material to make sure that I have coated it everywhere. And then I can actually also give it a nice little stretch, which I do love to do. I don't know what you mean, Robin, sorry. Can see the white bit. Oh, cool. I know what you mean. You can see the white bit that I missed. All right, now I've got dirty fingers. What I want to do is I want to make sure that I clean those up. And I like to, when I'm draping my fabric, I prefer to actually have my gloves off. So I usually wash those with my, before I take them off, so that they don't actually, so I can reuse them. Okay, now I've got very clean hands. I can get my paintbrush and my Powertex, and I'm just going to pop some Powertex onto that wing where I'm going to add the fabric. So I want to get onto the edges, and so I haven't done a really big thick coat. I've just painted it so it's got a layer. Then I can get my fabric and I can just drape and drop that on there essentially. So when you've got a really nice bit, like see this bit here, don't know if you can see that really clearly. You'll see it next week when I actually embellish it, but it's really got a beautiful curly little bit there. I'll move it right into the camera and we'll see if we can zoom up on that. See how it's got that really nice curly bit? Isn't that just gorgeous? So I'm really liking that. So I don't want to get rid of that bit. And then I quite like the fall of this bit, and I'm liking this. So instead of moving this, I'm just going to leave it there, and I can actually get my scissors, and even though the Powertex is wet, I can just trim that little bit off that I want to stay there. I'm going to do something a little bit more interesting with this piece here and just give it a little bit more texture through there. So notice I'm not using my big fat fingers to poke into that. I'm using something small, which, like I say, a kebab stick is perfect, but the palette knife is actually working really, really well as well, because I can use the side of it or I can use the point of it. All right, then we've got our other piece that we've done here too, and we can get that. And what I look for is I look for these nice curly edges. See how that's got a gorgeous edge here? It's not so gorgeous on this cut edge. So I'm just going to kind of force it to curl over on that edge, because like I say, it's that attention to the detail and making sure that all your textures are really lovely that makes all the difference to your artwork. Now what I could do is I could actually go over the top there with that, because I don't want to lose that nice curly bit in that corner. Now my hands are sticky now. See how I've got Powertex on my fingers? So what's starting to happen is the Powertex is actually sticking to the Powertex on the fabric, and I'm pulling it off. So that's where I like to either have a bowl where I can wash my hands, or I can just give them a little bit of a wipe there. So normally I would give them a wash in warm soapy water, but because I'm doing the demo, I've just got this damp cloth, which is very, very helpful. Okay, so see how that's got most of that Powertex off, just that quick rub with the cloth. And then I can get in and I can just adjust this piece of fabric here to how I want it to sit. And fiddle to my heart's content. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't put any Powertex around the back. So what I want to do is I want to just get my brush, because of course I'm going to turn my sculpture around and have a look at it from different directions. And on this side, it's not looking so fabulous. But we haven't really done anything there either. But what I'm just doing is just getting into that fabric and those, making sure there's a bit of Powertex in underneath it, and then just finishing off those edges where it's overlapped over the top. And then I can look and go, okay, it's looking a little bit edgy there still. Just going to get rid of that edge. Might curl it over a little bit. There we go, that's better. So I've just basically curled it back up onto that top rim, and I'm kind of liking that, so I'm just going to keep going with that and get a nice edge on that top side there. This bit here I might actually pull down onto here. So you can see how you just mainly you want it to retain the look of the fabric, and you don't want to squash it down too much, but there is a certain amount of control, and if I don't like something, I can also just, this edge here is really annoying me, that cut little bit, but if I wanted to, I could camouflage it with another piece of a different texture. But that has, what I've just done there has resolved it. See how it's now got a really nice edge flowing across that top side. I like that. And I'm going to cut off my scissors, cut off that little bit there. Nice. So that looks pretty nice. If I wanted to, I could, like I say, I could put another layer of texture on top of that once it was finished. What's happening now, of course, is my palette knife has Powertex on it, so I'm just doing a few little twirly bits on there to make it look a little bit more interesting, making sure it's stuck down. And I am going to get a little bit of Powertex and just touch up that point there. So like I say, it's that attention to all the little details that is going to make the difference to your artwork in the end. Alrighty, so then of course, hey Natalie, lovely to see you on here. So welcome, and of course if you do want to do a workshop, there are trainers around Australia where you can actually go along and when we're able and actually connect with a trainer and do a workshop in their studio. So with that bigger bit that I got dirty earlier, I would do exactly the same thing, except this time I would dip it and then it's just going to be all gathered. So I'm going to do that over my wings, and Natalie is just saying, oh, how come those scissors are so clean? So here's a tip for you. Once you've finished with your Powertex, of course the Powertex is going to harden on the metal, so I actually use steel wool to keep my scissors clean. So after I've finished, I'll use steel wool and clean up my scissors so that they last as long as I can make them last, and when they've had it, they go in the bin. So yes, I do go through a few scissors. So thank you everyone, and I'm sure that you guys will be doing some amazing bottle art yourself. Keep them coming into the Creative Hub. We want to see them. I love seeing what you guys create after having watched the live, and hopefully I've inspired you to make some quirky birds this weekend and have a bit of a play with some bottle art fun. So thank you for joining me. Robin's just saying that the handles of the scissors aren't as clean. No, I definitely don't pay as much attention to the handles as to the blades, for sure. So even my cups end up with Powertex on them. So just remember when you are working with the Powertex that it is going to basically stick to anything. So anything porous. So essentially the only thing it won't stick to is plastic. So just bear that in mind when you're working with it, and you won't end up with Powertex all over your pieces of things. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've had fun. I'm loving doing this quirky bird, and so I hope that hope to see some of your quirky birds very, very soon. And until next week, I will see you next week for some more quirky bird fun. And thanks to Robin, we will be colouring him up next week so that you can see him finished. Alrighty, ciao everyone. Have a wonderful, creative, arty weekend. Bye.